G'day, ZX here from Down Under. Now today what we're going to do is we're going to flash this Sonoff SV with ESPHome on Home Assistant, and we're going to hook this electronic lock and this keypad into a gate and have this little device operate it. So let's get to it. Okay, so we go to our Home Assistant and navigate to our ESPHome dashboard, and we click on the plus symbol here and we name our node. So we'll name it Gate and click on Continue. And for the Sonoff SV, it's the generic ESP8266, so that's already selected here by default. So we'll click on Continue. We put in our Wi-Fi SSID and password here, and click on Continue and Submit. So once we have got that, so it's showing up here on our dashboard, so we just click on Validate just to make sure everything's okay. So it's valid, so that's fine. So we can click on Close. From here we select Compile, so we'll compile that. So we'll wait a few minutes for that to complete. Okay, so that's completed. Once that's complete, keep this window open and click on Download Binary. Okay, so once that's downloaded, we put our Sonoff SV into program mode. So to do that, we just got to make sure we line up the pins here with ground, RX, TX, and 3.3 volts. So we just pop it in there like so. Just got to weigh it down with something so it doesn't fall over. Now, before we plug in our USB, what we've got to do is hold the button down, plug in the USB and release. So now it's in program mode. Okay, so we're going to flash this with Flash Easy. We'll open that up here, and if you note here, the gate .bin is in the same folder, so you've got to make sure you keep it in the same folder where your Flash Easy tool is. And we open that up, select the port, the COM port that Sonoff SV is on, and in my case it's COM3, gate and flash. This will pop up and it's starting to flash, so we'll just wait for that to complete, and that'll only take less than a minute. And complete. Once that's done, you can unplug your Sonoff SV from the USB, and then you can plug it back in just to power it up, just so it resets. Now once your device is showing that it's online, so here we go, we've got the green light there, so it's showing that it's online, so we can go to Edit. So here, this is where we add in the code. So what I'll do is I'll have the code in the description below. So once you've pasted the code in there, you click on Save. But before we do that, we'll just quickly go through the code. So basically, just up the top here, most of this will be already in there. The only thing you really need to add is on boot, switch, turn on relay. So basically what we want to do is we want to make sure that if the Sonoff loses power and comes back online, we've just got to make sure that the relay turns on automatically. Otherwise, if you have a power outage, and it comes back on, and if it doesn't switch on, well, your gate is left open. So this way it'll make sure that when the power is restored, it will power up the gate automatically, and it'll keep it locked. So that's what you've got to have in there. And this is just the standard stuff that you're going to have. So what we've got here is we've got the binary sensor. So we've got gpio 14 here. We'll have the lock sensors that will give you the state of the lock, whether it's open or closed, and we'll have that hooked up to gpio 14, and I'll have a diagram for you shortly just to explain how it's all hooked up and how it all operates. gpio 0, that's the button. That's the button here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to hook up the keypad onto gpio 0, and also another external button on gpio 0 as well. That's programmed to switch off for 3 seconds and switch the power back on after 3 seconds, which will power up the lock, so it'll be ready to lock again when it senses that the gate is in the closed position. The switch, so we've got the switch will be on gpio 12, and gpio 12 of course is the relay, so, and we've got it very similar to gpio 0. which it'll turn off for 3 seconds and back on again. And that's pretty much it. That's quite simple. So once we've done that, we click on save and close, and we just validate again to make sure the code is valid. And yes, it is. We've got the thumbs up there, so it is valid. So we close that there and click on upload, and we just wait for a few minutes once that's all uploaded. Keep note here your IP address. So the IP address is there. So if you wanted to, you can make that a static IP address if you like. All right, so the light has come on, so it looks like it's all working. So if we press that button now, it should turn off for 3 seconds and come back on again. And there we are. So the next step is to go to your overview and have a look at your card. So there we are. So we've got the side gate there, and it's in the closed position. And if we click on that, it'll trip for 3 seconds and then come back on again. So that's working. If yours doesn't show up anywhere on the home page, you may need to go to configuration, integrations, and you'll have your ESPHome here. So you click on that and you'll have to configure and then submit, and then it'll be ready to go. Also, before we go any further, I just want to mention I do have a garage door all set up as well with the Sonoff SV, which is similar to Dr. Z's setup. However, mine has a couple of extra things. I've included LED lights with that, which will give you the status of the actual garage door, whether it's open or closed, as a visual point. And I have that installed in the central part of the house. So if the door was open, it will stand out, and you don't necessarily have to go to your app or your phone to check whether the door is open or closed. So I will do a video on that as well, on the setup, on how it's all programmed and installed and how it all works. Okay, back to our Sonoff. So what I've done here is I've soldered 2 pins there for the output, and also I soldered a wire here on the GPio 0, which is the button here, which would be connected to our keypad and also our external button. So let's hook all this up and give it a test. Okay, so we've got it all connected here, hooked up to our keypad and electronic lock. So what we'll do is we'll power it up. And the lock should come on. Fantastic. So that's a good sign. So basically what that does is once it gets powered up, the lock automatically locks because the relay gets activated, which is what we want. So we'll just wait for the Sonoff to connect to our Wi-Fi. Okay, and it's just connected. It shows that the side gate status is closed, which is at the moment. So let's give it a test on our app here through Home Assistant. Let's click on that, on the lock, and yep, and it opens. Status shows that it's open. That's what we want. That's great. And we close the gate. It shows that it's closed, and in 3 seconds time it should lock, and it does. That's great. So let's test it on the keypad. Make sure it works on the keypad here. So I'll go with our standard pin number. And that unlocks. Great. Gate open. Shows open on the app there. And closed. Should activate. That's great. So we know the keypad works. So let's test it on the button. So this button here will have an external button installed on the gate, which will be hooked up to this button here. So let's press that, make sure that works. And it does. Great. Open. Gate is closed. And it locks. Fantastic. Let's go through the wiring diagram and then install it onto our gate. Okay, so here we have the Sonoff SV. We've got the power supply there, the keypad, the button, and also the lock. So first things first, with the power supply, so we connect our positive wire onto the positive pin there on the Sonoff, and also the negative wire there on the negative pin. Then we connect the negative cable from the keypad to the same negative cable there on the power supply. You can use another negative pin if you wanted to, but I've decided to just use it on the same one. And then also the same with the positive cable there as well, onto the same pin as the power supply, so that way it gets direct power, because the keypad needs to be powered at all times. And with the blue wire from the keypad, I've connected that to a ground pin, and the purple wire, I've connected that to GPio 0, which is the button there. So once that circuit closes, it'll open the gate. The button as well, I've connected that also to the same GPio 0 there, onto that button, and as well as onto a ground pin there. So it will work pretty much the same as the keypad. When the circuit's closed, the gate will open. Moving on to the lock now, I've connected the positive cable there to the positive output on the board there, which is directly from the relay, and also the negative cable onto the board there as well. The green wire from the lock, I've connected that to GPio 14 right there, and also the grey wire is connected to ground. So I've decided to connect it to that ground pin. All those 3 pins there are all ground pins, and that's it. That's pretty much all the wiring. It looks nice and simple there, which it is on the diagram here, so it's a lot clearer. So you can pause the video and have a good look at that, and that's pretty much how you need to wire it up. So let's go on to the install. So here we have a clean cutout for the lock. Now I'm installing the brackets for the lock, and here we are, the brackets installed and the lock ready to be fitted. Just installing the keypad here. All the wiring has now been complete. We'll tuck all the wiring in, fasten the lock, and it should be ready to go. Here is the Sonoff all wired up as well into its weatherproof box. Here it is all closed up, looks nice and neat. And I've also applied some silicone over the top and the sides, just so no water gets in there whatsoever. Let's test that with Home Assistant. Beautiful. Status shows, if I can focus, open. Close that. And close. Lovely.